In this video, I want to clear up some major confusion about AMH. You definitely need to hear this, so stay tuned. Have you recently had an AMH test and feel stressed about the results, or are considering getting an AMH test to determine what your chances of conceiving are? I'm really glad you're watching because what I have to share may spare you some sleepless nights. Shirley Lincoln, Women's Health and Fertility Specialist. My channel is all about educating and inspiring and empowering you to take charge of your fertility and fulfill your dreams of becoming a parent. I recently saw a YouTube thumbnail that said low AMH and pregnant with her own eggs. The reason it struck me was that I felt that it was feeding a false narrative that your anti-Müllerian hormone levels are actually a determining factor in whether or not you can conceive naturally. Were you also led to believe that an AMH test was a fertility test? Let me know in the comments below. AMH is used as an estimate of your ovarian reserve, and currently there is no single test that can determine how many eggs you have left. The AMH test was developed in the 1940s, but it didn't have a real use case until the 80s with the development of IVF. Now here's the caveat: if you're planning IVF, an AMH test will be given. AMH levels are very helpful for IVF doctors to know if one, you're a good candidate for IVF, and two, to determine how much stimulation drug may be needed. But say you're trying to conceive naturally, I recommend that you skip this test. AMH levels are naturally lower for women in their late 30s and 40s simply because we've been ovulating for a number of years. So if you are considered older for fertility, you can assume your levels are lower, and then you can save your time and money and focus instead on more important things like improving the quality of the eggs you do have. Here's what a fertility surgeon states: if you are not going to have IVF, then AMH is a complete waste of time. If your AMH is low, you're only going to get depressed. If your AMH is high, it doesn't mean you will get pregnant. If your AMH is high, it does not mean you'll get pregnant, and you're only testing yourself into a false sense of security. I have to agree. So to reiterate that point, AMH is really only helpful in predicting who will produce more eggs with hormonal medication in the case of IVF. So if AMH levels are not a good predictor of fertility outcomes, what is? I'm going to address this plus give you some tips to get pregnant with low AMH. Many fertility specialists are just going to say age is the biggest determinant of fertility outcomes. So let's just get the elephant out of the room, or let's get this out of the way. I'm certainly not going to say that age doesn't matter. However, what I always emphasize on this channel is to focus on your biological age. Your chronological age is how many years you have been alive, how many years you have circled around the sun, and obviously there's nothing we can do about that number. However, biological age, also referred to as physiological age, takes many lifestyle factors into consideration. This includes your diet, exercise, sleep habits, emotional and mental health, just to name a few. And those we have a lot of control over. So I'm going to ask you a question. Based on your current lifestyle, do you feel you are biologically younger or older than your chronological age? If you're feeling older, don't worry, there are steps that we can take. I don't think I'm alone in that. We've all known people that are, say in their 30s and yet seem much older, or people in their 40s that seem much younger. When I reflect on being biologically younger, some things come to mind. Imagine this with me. When you are younger, you have flexibility in your body. You're just naturally more nimble. I remember meeting a woman in her 60s that practiced yoga regularly, and 30 years later, I still remember how struck I was that she did not seem her age. She seemed ageless. I was used to older people, or being older equated with being stiff and creaky. So let me ask you, have you maintained your flexibility? I know I've become a bit stiffer and I don't like it. I want to do something about that. to improve my biological age. When you are younger, you typically are able to sleep well. Gosh, I used to be a great sleeper and wake up restored. You have stamina. You're able to move pretty easily past stressful situations. You know how to have fun. You're naturally active and move your body a lot. You listen to music that inspires or excites you versus maybe depressing and stress-inducing news that a lot of us as adults are kind of hooked on, right? That 24-hour news reel of just bad and worse and fearful information. Like nothing makes me feel more middle-aged when I have belly fat, I'm stiff, I'm sleeping poorly. To be honest or transparent, the period before I started trying to conceive, the first time before I made a bunch of changes, I was probably in the worst condition or shape of my life. I was about 20 pounds heavier than I am now, and I was feeling super frazzled. I was stressed all the time. There were so many external events that were affecting me. I was feeling really run down. I was biologically aging rapidly, and at that time, that was about 39 years old. I definitely felt older than my chronological age. I wasn't going down a good path, and I had to make some major changes to ensure I could safely even conceive and maintain a pregnancy. Fortunately, and I know how fortunate I really was, I was able to conceive naturally when I was 41 years old. And, I feel so grateful. I never take that for granted. And I had such a healthy pregnancy and a very healthy baby. But I want to tell you, it did take some pretty big changes on my side and my partner's. That's what I always want to inspire in you and your partner. You can make these changes as well and create an environment where you are biologically younger, deal with some health challenges so that your body feels resourced enough, safe enough to conceive and maintain a pregnancy. So one of the most important light bulb moments was coming across an article about improving egg and sperm quality. Now, at the time, I was told there was just nothing you can do. You can read the information in a free report called Improve Egg Health. I'm going to put it in the description below. It's content rich, worth the read. Download it now while it is still free. I always tell you that if you're still menstruating and ovulating regularly, then you are able to conceive. So the first step is to make sure that this is happening. I'm a big fan of basal body temperature charting, and it's not difficult to do. It can seem like there's a lot of steps to it, but really you just get a basal body temperature thermometer at your local drugstore or on Amazon, and download an app that allows you to record the temperatures and start immediately, tomorrow morning. And then you can figure out the details, fill in the details as you go, but just start charting it, because it's going to take a couple months to start seeing kind of patterns in your temperatures and things like that. And then I recommend what's called the Mirror app. Now, the Mirror app, the only con I see is that you use these wands, and I think they can kind of be a little bit pricey. However, if you are in your late 30s, in your 40s, and you can make it work, financially, please, I think it's well worth getting. The app measures your hormones with 99% lab accuracy. So it's actually giving you the actual levels of luteinizing hormone, progesterone, and estrogen, and it gives you your fertile window, which for most of us is like, maybe 2 to 4 days in which you have intercourse and can potentially conceive. And I think that is well worth it. So check that out. Okay, I'm going to ask you to give yourself and your partner about 4 months preparation time. Reason for this is it takes about 3 months for a new batch of sperm, and it takes about 120 days for the full maturation cycle of the egg. So during this time, we're going to make some dietary changes. Typically, all of us need to switch up things when we're trying to conceive. What research has found is that a macronutrient diet of 45% fat, 30% protein, and 25% carbohydrates has the best fertility outcomes. You can use an app like Real Plans to put together meals that have this breakdown. I think you're able to just program what you want the macronutrient breakdown to look like, and then they'll help you put together meals. But if you want something even simpler, Amy Rope, she's a fertility acupuncturist. She wrote a book called The Egg Quality Diet, and she gives you recipes based on this macro breakdown. This book was, her book actually introduced me to the Real Plans app, because she uses it to plan these meals, and it kind of just takes all the guesswork out. I think I looked at some of her recipes. I haven't tried them, but they look pretty tasty. So give that a try. It's the Amy Ropp Egg Quality Diet book. Another tip I suggest is taking some fertility supplements to improve your mitochondrial health. I'm going to link a video of some that I recommend. There's so many out there, right? But these I think are kind of the essentials, and they're very important. So take a look at that. Okay, another tip is to eliminate alcohol, caffeine, and processed foods. I know there are plenty of doctors that say a little alcohol or caffeine is okay, but what I say is if it's just a little that you're consuming of alcohol or caffeine, then why do it at all? I mean, one glass of wine occasionally is still full of pesticides and sulfates, and so is most coffee. And processed foods are typically filled with preservatives and inflammatory vegetable oils. When something this important is on the line, I say, why mess around? But that's just my opinion. I haven't mentioned cigarettes because I want to believe that you quit that already, but you know, I'm in my 50s and I have several girlfriends that smoke daily. It worries me, but I also know as an ex-smoker, it's a serious drug addiction and it's no joke to quit. It ages you, it ages your eggs and your ovaries, and shaming you about it is not going to make you quit. I personally was recommended a book called The Easy Way to Quit Smoking. It's been 15 years, so I think it really helped. And you can also find that on Amazon. Start a meditation practice, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, using that as a way to get in touch with yourself and calm the stress hormone cortisol, which can dysregulate your hormones. So just incorporating a little bit of it, or breath work. There's so many great videos on YouTube that you can use, or, you know, Calm, Headspace, 10% Happier. Those are all apps that get rave reviews. And then incorporate some exercise. You know, if your weight is in a good place, then still, you know, incorporate at least like 20 minutes a day. Or if you need to reduce your BMI and make it more favorable for fertility, then this is like a really good motivator to do so. I believe a favorable BMI for fertility is between 21 and 24. And, you know, just know that, you know, fat tends to be inflammatory. So it's multifaceted reasons of why you would want to reduce the fat, but reducing inflammation to improve your overall fertility is a great reason. If you are needing to get rid of some excess pounds, I would personally recommend intermittent fasting and a keto diet. Now, a keto diet doesn't have the macronutrient ratios for fertility. However, you can do it for a period of time to shed those pounds, and then once you get to what you feel like is a more healthier weight, then you can go into a more fertility macronutrient breakdown, if that makes sense. Because with keto, your carb ratio is very, very low. I forget, like 15%, and your fat ratio is like 70%. So that's not something you probably want to maintain. And some people argue, keto improved my fertility greatly, but, you know, just from what research has found, the other one is more optimal for fertility. So keto to shed that weight, and the intermittent fasting, I think, is a really, there's a lot of research being done with intermittent fasting and improving hormonal balance. And there's great videos discussing it on YouTube as well. All right, so I'm going to give you some tests that I would like you to do, and if you had them before, make sure they're not more than 6 months old, as then they become too old or dated to be representative of your current situation. And that is very, very true for sperm tests, that sometimes because the man has fathered children from another relationship or had a sperm test like 2 years prior, they don't think that they need to have an updated test, and that is just not true. You need to have updated tests too. Hormones change all the time, so it's like about every 6 months that needs to be checked. The first one is a thyroid panel. I'm going to list the markers below that I want you to have tested. And the second is morning cortisol. You'll want that to be around 10 to 15. And then you'll want to have your fasting blood sugar and fasting insulin. Fasting insulin, we want it to be around 5. That's not what the conventional ranges are, but that's an optimal range for fertility. You'll want to have day 3 of your cycle FSH tested and estradiol, and day 21 or day 22 progesterone tested. I also recommend, instead of total testosterone, getting free and bioavailable testosterone tested to screen for PCOS or some other cause for high androgens. And then, as I said before, to have an up-to-date sperm test and a DNA fragmentation test. I'll talk about that more in another video, but you can Google it. Also, remember to download the Improve Egg Health Report. And here's some other videos that I made for you that I know will be beneficial. And I just want to remind you, believe in yourself and your body's innate wisdom and power. And in my next video, I'm going to discuss some important supplements that I feel are worth it when you're 40 plus and trying to conceive. And then I'm going to make a video about how to address low progesterone and investigate the FSH test. I posed the question, are FSH levels important for natural conception or just for IVF? So subscribe and look out for those videos. Okay, see you on the next video.